Hey guys, what's up? Kishore here. Welcome back to the Vocal About Arsenal podcast. I know I have been out for a while, just like the Arsenal forward line that has been out for most of the season with some or other injury. I'm not saying I've been out because I've been injured, but there have been some things going on in my life which have been keeping me a bit busy. But yes, just like Gyökeres making a return and Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz also on the horizon of returning to the team, I'm also going to be back doing more consistent videos on this podcast. So thank you in advance for your support. Now, with that out of the way, let's start with the performance of Arsenal against Chelsea. Let's begin with the lineups. So Arsenal had Raya the goal. The backline was the one that had the most change, with Saliba out with a small knock right in the training, and Gabriel out for a longer period of time. And in their absence, Mosquera and Hincapié had come into the team. Of course, on the right we had Timber, and on the left we had Calafiori. In the middle we had Rice and Zubi, and ahead of them there was Saka, Eze, and Martinelli in place of Trossard, who was also injured. And at the striker's role was Mikel Merino. Now let's touch upon the elephants in the room, the missing of Saliba and Gabriel from the team. These could be considered to be the best centre-back partnership in European or even world football at the moment. And the fact that Arsenal did not have them was obviously going to result in a drop in the quality. Saliba was kind of a shocker because the knock was a bit last moment, but we knew about Gabriel for a while now. Now, in their absence, we had Hincapié and Mosquera coming in, and I honestly have to say that despite there being a dip in the way the team played, or maybe a dip in the rhythm with which the team played, I think Mosquera and Hincapié did a very good job. And in the forward line, with Trossard being out injured, Martinelli had come in. And I have to say that Martinelli's strength largely is in a competition like the Champions League, where his directness and speed tends to catch the opponents off guard, and he can go and score those lovely, beautiful goals. I think somehow in the Premier League, Trossard's wiliness and intelligence tends to add more threat to the Arsenal attack rather than Martinelli's directness. And at this point of time, we can be safely assured that Trossard can't do that role and Martinelli can't do the role of being the intelligent winger. He's very direct, and I mean, I don't mean that in a very disparaging way to Martinelli. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think he has the wiliness to outfox the opponents, to swing his way around them and to go and score a goal. He's more of, I'm going to get the ball from somebody in the defense or the midfield. They're going to shoot out a long ball and I'm going to get that and I'm going to score the goal. He's much more of a winger like that, which I don't think, to be honest, is what Trossard can do, because Trossard honestly he's out of steam by the 60th minute, and maybe it's the fact that his body and his brain are working at a very high level for the entire 60, that for the rest of the time he is pretty much out of breath. But that's why we have a deep squad, so that we basically go out there and unlock any of the defenses, any of the systems that our opponents can throw at us. Now, you must have heard about the narratives, right? Arteta got this wrong, Chelsea were impeccable even when they went down to 10 men, they were impressive, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Sure, all of that was said, but let us unpack everything, but from an Arsenal perspective as we go forward in this podcast. Now, let's address the week that Arsenal just had prior to the Chelsea game. We had the North London derby, which, like any derby out there, is very, very competitive. It is tough, but more so when it comes to the North London derby, because quite frankly, Tottenham fans hate us and we hate them. Now, Tottenham came home and they basically got whooped 4-1, and I think we came out of the match with flying colours. And that was when we were at our peak, our energy was at our peak, and we were able to absorb the injuries of Odegaard and Gabriel. Now, post that is a game that is, in my opinion, one of the toughest in Europe right now, because Bayern Munich are among the best teams in Europe right now, because they came into the Champions League with an unbeaten record, just like how we did, and we basically whooped them. We beat them 3-1, and remember those Champions League nights under Wenger when we kept losing to Bayern Munich to 5 goals or so on. This is the new Arsenal, and we are comfortably beating Bayern Munich 3-1. I understand that it is the during the league stage of the Champions League, but whatever it might be, that result was impressive. Now let's uncover the other side of the consequence, rather, of playing such a game. Combine the fact that we are on a high again after beating Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich are a very good team, and it would have surely taken a lot out of our players to play such a huge match and then again have a intense game against Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have been, I think, in the midweek, they were, if I'm not wrong, in the second position or the third position, something like that. And they have been improving quite well. So, to have three extremely tough games and us winning two out of three is saying something. But that will also have the toll that comes along with it, which we kind of experienced with the loss of Trossard, and even more devastating was the loss of Saliba. This is, I guess, what modern football is all about, and this is why Arsenal has such a huge squad. And I'm not here to make excuses on Arsenal's performance, but we do have to look at this result, or look at or poke holes through the nonsensical narratives that are built by the media to take encouragement for ourselves and also to give encouragement to the team, because what Arsenal did in this 1 week is not something that can be taken lightly. So yeah, I think the best analogy for this is something like the ship of Theseus, wherein we are building a ship that is so thorough, but every so often one of its parts is replaced by something else. I'm not saying it's a like for like replacement, of course, but we are replacing that. And the thing is, the beauty of Arteta's system and the coaching staff's work and the players buying into that work is that there is not a significant drop off in quality. I think with Mosquera and Hincapié coming in for in place of Gabriel and Saliba, as I mentioned before, um, more than quality, I think there was kind of a trade-off in the rhythm, because that is what you get when you play like a very steady team for a period of time. And Arsenal's season, which I think has been one of our most devastatingly good season so far, uh, it is not without its drama. Our forward line has been missing, and now our defense is also kind of teetering in a place where we have the new guys coming in. So obviously there is going to be a bit of a learning curve that is going to come into the team, and I think the emotionally charged previous two matches, along with the high of the wins, combined with the injuries, all of these things were always going to extract a toll on the team, which is what I believe happened when Arsenal went to Stamford Bridge. But am I saying that I did not have confidence in the team of getting a result here? Absolutely not. In fact, I was hoping for Arsenal to win this. More so than the other seasons when we were clearly superior to Chelsea, but for some strange reason we could not get the job done. This season, I think we still are better than Chelsea, but Chelsea has also improved quite a bit. And but despite all this, I think if I had to bet money on someone getting all 3 points, I think I would have still bet on Arsenal. So with that expectation when the game started, I think what changed the game's dynamics a bit more was, of course, the home advantage that Chelsea had. Chelsea came into this match with a lot of confidence themselves after having beaten Barcelona, but also with violence in their minds. Some of the tackles that were happening were unnecessary. They were very, very brutal in nature, and they were not worthy, in my opinion, of a red card. But they were not really in the arena of, oh, I'm going to play football and I'm going to out football you. It was more like, I'm going to leave something on you, I'm going to out muscle you, and thereby maybe at the corner of the Arsenal players' mind is a tendency to guard themselves, because they realize that this match is just one match, and for them to go on and get the big earners, they have to be available for more games. If Chelsea had thrown this kind of a performance after we had won the league, I honestly think that we would have gone ahead and left a few on them. Let me assure you of that. And had Gabriel and I don't know, maybe Kai Havertz been on the field, he would have definitely stepped up and had a few spats on the field. So yeah, Chelsea's thing was, oh, we have beaten Barcelona, now we have to beat Arsenal, and that was their whole end game. We had bigger fish to fry. So I think Chelsea doing very violent attacks on Arsenal may have led to a break in our rhythm, may have resulted in our players being a bit more guarded. But I think the referee took note of that, and that is why Moises Caicedo's bravado was rewarded with a red card, which, in my opinion, he perfectly deserved. And to equate that with Hincapié jumping and having caught somebody on the face, that's not the same thing. Hincapié was going for the ball, he was being physical, but Moises Caicedo had done this, and there are other players on the Chelsea team who are also doing this, and he caught Mikel Merino proper on his toes with the studs up, and I think that deserved a red card. And that actually created even more of a problem to Arsenal, unfortunately, because there is the narrative that, oh, there are 10 men on the field, so it is going to be easier. We know that when Liverpool played Arsenal in the previous seasons, Arsenal's defense was weaker when there were 11 men, because we were also expected to attack Liverpool, as opposed to when we were only 10 men, because then we were compact, we are not going for the attacks. And Liverpool, I think, played out a 0-0 draw at the Emirates, if I'm not wrong, with 10 men for about 18 minutes. And this was way before Salah basically tanked. They had a lot of firepower back then. So yeah, I would honestly say that beating a team of quality with 10 men is actually harder, because they do these routines. If it was 9, I understand. It is something new. They are seriously outnumbered. But 10 is something wherein you have to sit back, and as and when you get the ball, sometimes if you are even more physical than your opponent, you can get a long ball to a runner somewhere, and they have a tendency to score goals. So yeah, these narratives are actually written by people who played a lot of football, I'm assuming, in their career. So how are they not understanding the simple fact? It cannot be just a numbers game where, oh, there are 11 men here, so they obviously have an advantage. Sure, they do. But the advantages of the 10-man team also has to be taken into account. And yeah, I think all these factors put together is why Arsenal was a bit off rhythm. And combine that with the fact that Chelsea's only goal of the match came from a corner, which again, it's a set piece, it's a 50-50 situation, nobody can predict anything about anything. And also, I truly believe that with Raya's shortness, and also the lack of Gabriel and Saliba in the defense, meant that that goal, in my opinion, could not have gone into the goal had those two guys been there. But hey, that is what happened. Now, advantage Chelsea. They've gotten the goal, they can sit back with more confidence, and it fell upon Arsenal to go and make an impact, which we did. almost within, if I'm not wrong, 10 minutes of their goal. Again, we have Kai Havertz, we have Gabriel Jesus, and we have Victor Gyökeres, but none of them were available to start. And yet again, it is our makeshift midfielder slash striker Mikel Merino who got the goal for us with a beautiful ball from Saka helping him, of course. And that is truly saying something. So we got it back, but I think this is something that Arsenal needs to take a bit more seriously, because I believe that we go hell for leather if the opponent scores a goal. We are very dogged in terms of getting the equalizer. But after that, I think we kind of take the foot off the gas. We don't go for the winner. I don't know, maybe because we are being a bit more conservative, maybe because that is Arteta's style. But whatever it is, I think that considering we are so dogged, why not go in and get the second goal or the goal just above, like just one more than, like, what it takes to draw the match. Something to work on, I suppose. That is the one thing which I truly feel has been kind of a pattern emerging with the Arsenal team, and that is maybe what I would like to have Arsenal invest their time in, rather than looking at these narratives, thinking and saying that, oh, we kind of blew it, or Arteta got it wrong. So yeah, the next thing I would say is worth mentioning is the coming back of Odegaard and Gyökeres into the team. The reason I say it is because it was after Odegaard came that we got the goal, and I think the whole of last season with Odegaard being injured, I don't know what was happening with him, but that kind of rusty Odegaard kind of removed the sheen of the magnificent player that he is. Because prime Odegaard, and I think we saw a bit of that on the field yesterday, is silky. He's smooth. He came in and his ball control, the way he passed, the way he even decelerates was just magical. There was almost like, you're touching, like, the feeling that you get when you touch silk. That's the feeling that I got watching him. And truly glad that Odegaard was back. And also, to say something positive about Gyökeres, I have always been a big proponent of Gyökeres. But I also believe that us expecting like an old school striker who's getting you all the goals, or even, Haaland being the only exception in that department, because he's the only guy, only striker who's doing that on a regular basis. I think Gyökeres is not going to be able to do that quite a lot for Arsenal, because I think Arteta asks him to do a lot, and also the quality of the league is quite high. And I think the opponents also prepare for Gyökeres being in the team. Combine that with the fact that this is Gyökeres' first season, and both him and the team are growing closer to each other, and this injury really came at the worst possible time. So when Gyökeres came back, I think I was happy, and I want him to have a more consistent spell in the team. I want him to get goals more consistently. Let it be against the big team or let it be against the small team. But I really want him to get some goals under his belt so that he gets his confidence going. And in this match, I think the chance that we got, which in my opinion, should have been a goal, which came about in the late 80s or the early 90th minute or something like that. I think we could have actually won this match. We could have clinched it, because that was a beautiful chance. But again, just like, kind of a hearkening of Arsenal back in the old days, I think we kind of got in the way of ourselves. What could have been a very easy goal for Gyökeres to score was, I think, kind of, for the lack of a better word, sabotaged by Timber trying to head the ball in. I really don't know why Timber tried to do that, because I don't believe he ever tries that apart from this. He is more of an assister, the pass provider, rather than, like, the guy who wants to score the goals. But for some strange reason, in this case, he wanted to try that. And his angle was all wrong. He could not have controlled the ball. And Gyökeres, being the striker that he is, got into a beautiful position to head the ball in, and unfortunately that did not happen. I think these relationships surely needs to get worked out between the team. I think the team has to start talking to each other among themselves, so that they don't get in each other's way. Another example of this would be wherein I think Saka had a chance go begging, but I think had Saka passed the ball rather than trying to take the shot, I think Gyökeres and Madueke, if I'm not wrong, were there to hit the ball in. So I think Arsenal has to do that more. I understand that we get a lot of chances, so that doesn't become too much of a talking point. But I think for a team to sing, they have to be in rhythm. And I think as much as Arteta and the coaching staff are drilling things into this team, I think the team also has to take some initiative. I'm not saying any of this is not happening, because I'm not privy to those matters. But if in case it's not happening, I truly believe that it has to. Wherein the team kind of talks to each other. Gyökeres talks to Timber or the defenders and says that, hey, for certain passes, I'm the guy. I'm going to be there. If I'm not around, then you go for the ball. So those kind of talks have to happen. Those kind of relationships have to get built, and it was it made me a bit sad that that goal could not get done. So yeah, in my opinion, I think 2 wins out of 3 games, all 3 of them really difficult, is an excellent week by any means for a team. I think 3 out of 3 would have made me even more happy. But then again, maybe that peak is something that we have to hit closer to the business end of the season, that is maybe in the month of April or something, rather than now. So for now I'm happy. And just so you know, if Chelsea fans or fans of any other teams are happy that Arsenal lost a point, think about it this way: the Chelsea, which has had a steady team, which has just beaten Barcelona, which has the home advantage, which has chosen violence, which has, in my opinion, the benefit of not having the crowd on their back if they play football in a cowardly manner, because you automatically get a pass because you have lost a man, and hence you can sit compact. I think had it been 11 versus 11, Chelsea would have been forced to go after Arsenal, and Arsenal would have had more openings to score the second goal. But I honestly believe that with their 10 men came a lot of advantages. So all these things put together, Chelsea could still muster only 1 goal, and that too from a set piece against Arsenal. And if you are thinking that Chelsea came out better, well, you go fight that battle, whereas I am going to focus on how Arsenal is going to whoop Brentford in the coming week. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Arsenal podcast, and thank you, my dear viewers, for your time. You can also follow this podcast on your social media channels, where I tend to share shorter clips from these podcast recordings, and I also share a lot of my thoughts about Arsenal mostly, but also some of the other teams in the Premier League. Mostly me taking a shot at them. That's mostly it. But I also do a lot of light tweeting during the matches. So please do join me at Vocal About Arsenal on Blue Sky, Threads, and also Twitter. Thank you.